Hello, lovely ladies. It is so awesome to be with you again today. It feels like it has been forever since I have been with you alone. And I know that's not necessarily true, but I have a really important topic to talk about today, and we'll get to it in just a moment. I meet so many women, and I have a lot of women in my life. And I realize that one of the things that is really hard for women to do is to create clear boundaries. We're always the caretaker and we want to please everybody. And oftentimes we do this pleasing of everybody at our own expense. Something doesn't feel right to us, but yet we can't tell them no. And why is that? Are we afraid they're not going to like us or love us anymore? And so, one of the things that I have learned recently and really been applying in my life in the last few years is being really clear about boundaries and what I want in my life and what I'm willing to um, maybe bend a little bit on. But you know what? If we're not clear on what's important to us, then we cannot be clear on what boundaries that we need to set. And sometimes people just get in our space, our personal space. We allow them to come in, but yet the message and the things that they're saying to us is not in a loving, healthy way. And yet we allowed this to continue. I know with me, I recently had a incident with a friend of mine, and it was all about boundaries, and she couldn't set up boundaries with her kids, and this really upset her, and we were talking about it, and I guess the whole discussion really upset her, but she couldn't tell me. It's a fairly new friendship, so we're still working out what we can say to each other and what we can't say to each other, and if somebody's looking for advice or they just want to be heard. Well, apparently this woman only wanted to be heard. She wanted to be bent, but she couldn't express that. She couldn't set that clear boundary until like 2 days later she called me up and she was like, you know what, I don't ever want to talk to you about this again, and I don't want your advice. And I was kind of taken aback by this, like, wow, where did that come from? And why does she have to say it in such a sharp way? And then I realized, like, when these things happen to us, first off, they happen to us. I don't believe anything happens in a vacuum. And every event and everything that happens in our life is for our personal growth. And my first reaction was like, okay, you know what? I need to set up a protective wall around myself because I don't want to be talked to this way. But then I thought about it after a few days and I realized, like, okay, so maybe it wasn't clear in the communication what exactly she wanted from me. And so I left her a message. I said, listen, I'm really sorry if I, said anything to hurt you or upset you. That was not my intention at all. If you had expressed to me all you needed to do was vent, I would have been cool with it, right? But when we can't do that, and I know so many times in my past, somebody would say something to me and I would get really hurt and really offended by it. And I didn't know how to set up those boundaries, or I didn't have enough self worth or self care or self love to feel worthy of those boundaries. And so this is really important work, ladies, that we have to do. Whether we're working with a coach, whether you're working with me, is really learning to become clear that, hey, you are worthy of everything that you desire. The problem is you got to get clear on what it is that you desire. And then once you become clear on that, then you can set up the appropriate boundaries and say, Like I hear women all the time, their kids will say to them now that they're single, "Oh, mom, come live close to us. You can babysit the kids." Well, maybe she doesn't want that, but out of guilt, she does it and then is resentful for years to come because of it. Well, that's not healthy either. So, why are we, why do all of us, or many of us, do things that we don't want to do? And mostly it's because we're not clear and we're not sure how to say it, that we can still be loved and respected for who we are and the choices that we want to make in our life. Because you're at a pivotal point in your life right now. You have one chapter closed, and now it's time to open a whole new, fresh chapter, and you can create it exactly how you want it. But what if you said to your children, you know what? There's other things that I want to create in my life right now, and staying home and babysitting your children is not it. But thank you for thinking about me. I don't mind helping out when they're sick. If you can't take them to their kindergarten or their daycare, I'm more than happy to help out if I'm available. But you've raised your kids already, and this is not your job to raise your grandkids as well, or great grandkids, right? So one is being really, really clear about who you are, what your self-worth is, who you're living your life for, and then being able to set those clear boundaries. Because we're always going to have situations, and there's always going to be people who come into our life that are going to test us. And that's part of our growth. And that's part of our experience of being human. And sometimes we may get it right, and other times we may not. But like this conversation with this friend of mine, it was very clear that she didn't know what it was that she wanted. And because she couldn't express it, then she got very frustrated with the whole interaction, unbeknownst to me, until she lashed out at me. So when we're clear about what we need from other people in our life and we express it, like when I started giving her advice, if that's not what she wanted right away, she could have stopped me right then and said, "You know what, Shira, thank you. I really appreciate that you want to give me this advice, but I really just need to vent right now." And it would have been great. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for letting me know what your expectation is of me right now. And then that would have saved so much heartache and angst for weeks and weeks and weeks. But sometimes people, because they don't set up these boundaries at all in their life, and certain people keep pushing their buttons in the wrong way, they end up resenting them. They can't forgive them. They're angry at themselves. And life is too short to live in those negative emotions and to be in this place where you are not settled. So I would suggest right now that you go to my website at ShiraRaymond.com, and I'm giving away for free. You just have to wait a couple of seconds for the pop-up to come on the screen, a free 127-page self-care journal where you can start to work out these things. What's important to you in your life? What do you want to have? What are those interactions and relationships? But not only that, what are you going to do for yourself that makes you feel good? What makes you feel alive? What makes you excited to get up every day? Because life is too short when we do not live it that way. And we're here to enjoy everything that God has given us, to appreciate everything in our lives. And I know for me, it's like even before my feet hit the ground, I'm saying thank you that, I'm alive and that I can walk and that I can see and that just I have a beautiful apartment. I have a roof over my head. I'm living where I want to live. Life is too short to not move into gratitude. But we can't do that when we're not happy with who we are. So I really, really hope you'll download my journal at ShiraRaymond.com. And let's go on this growth journey together. I'm here for you, ladies, and you can reach out to me anytime. There's a link on my website to book an appointment with me. And until next week, have a great, great week. And think about this and think about what it is where you need to set up clear boundaries in your life and what would it look like to express that. And if you need to, practice in the mirror, saying it to yourself. So many times the mirror is a great place because if we can't even talk to ourselves in the mirror and say these things, how are we going to say it to somebody else? So don't forget that I'm here for you, and I wish you a great week.